What's up everyone, welcome back to It's About Cars with another car review, this time on the most powerful Mini ever to hit the streets. This is the MINI JCW GP, which is actually GP3 because there's been two GPs before that. 2006 came a 1.6 liter supercharged GP, 2013 a 1.6 liter turbocharged GP, both around 215 horsepower. This Mini here has 306 horsepower, that's 225 kilowatts and 450 newton meters of torque. Really impressive numbers for a Mini. Now in this video we will go over the performance features the most, because this channel is more about car performance, it's not about everyday living with cars. But of course we will start talking about the design, since I am a design student and I, as a matter of fact, know the car designer of that exact vehicle. So I'm probably able to tell you about some details that not everybody knows. After talking about the vehicle's design, we will go over the performance and driving this thing in hills on the German Autobahn, since we're in Germany here. And I'll share my thoughts if this car is really worth 45,000 euros, because this car is probably the most expensive Mini ever. And a lot of people would say 45,000 euros for a Mini is actually too much. Now the Mini GP3 comes only in racing gray with champagne silver roof and champagne silver side mirrors. The most distinctive design element of this car is probably for you going to be the standalone fenders on the side of the car. Now on these standalone fenders you have one number that tells you what kind of model this is. This is the 1082nd model of 3,000 models in total to be produced. So this is a very limited model. Starting with the front, you can clearly see that there's a lot of details in chili red. This car comes only in this spec. You can't change anything about the outer appearance. The front lamps are circled in black trim, and the grille and the logo even as well as this fake vent. Actually, it's actually a fake vent on the hood. It's something that a lot of people are complaining about. I'm complaining about this too, because this is not a cool thing on modern sports cars to have all these fake vents everywhere. Come from the front side to the back side, or the back fender, you'll see this red detail here. It's just a sticker, of course. The door handles are actually black as well, just like the surroundings for the headlamps and other details on the car. And right at the end of this red detail starts the rear fender, which also looks like a standalone fender. It's actually the first car that comes to my mind, especially in this class, that was able to hit the streets with a standalone fender design, which is actually pretty cool. And these are forged carbon fenders. Nice. This fender here looks like it's letting any air through, but if you stick your finger in there, you'll soon find that there's a wall behind it, so it's actually not doing anything aerodynamically. It's probably even making it a bit worse, but on a car like that, this is not the greatest focus on staying really aerodynamically. But even though this fender is kind of a fake aerodynamic feature, I think this is probably the coolest feature about the car in general. Now coming to the car's rear end, the biggest eye catcher on this car here is, for you, probably going to be the roof spoiler. The roof spoiler is detailed in chili red from the inside, while the exterior of the spoiler maintains the normal exterior gray color. It has that huge GP implemented here on the side of the spoiler. You can clearly see that the spoiler has this cutout, which is meant for the antenna, so that it doesn't collide with it. Now another huge and important thing about rear ends of sporty cars are the exhaust tips. This is a non-fake exhaust with really huge pipes, and the sound of this car is actually really good. Now one design detail I want to tell you about is the roof. The designer actually wanted to have this entire roof painted in chili red, probably the side mirrors as well. Marketing, however, said it's going to be a pretty big decision for them to do everything in red. A lot of people wouldn't buy that. I personally am quite happy that this roof is not in red and only the rear spoiler is, but probably that's individual taste here. Now let's start talking about this car's interior design. Quite commonly, this is a circular shaped infotainment screen for Minis nowadays, quite common. You have this 1082nd model number here implemented onto the dashboard, which is a honeycomb, although the scratchy plastic detail that I don't really like. What I really do like is your gauge. That's it. Now, the thing I really do like about this gauge is it's pretty minimalistic. I've seen the renders of this thing, the interior renders, and a lot of people didn't like it. Probably many people think a reduced interior architecture like this has in here on this top level, not talking about the low level here. Probably a lot of people think this is too less. Car looks probably cheap to a lot of people, and it actually has a lot of plastic bits that I personally don't like. That's not too good. For a 45,000 euro car, of course. Not talking about this to be a Bentley, but this should be a bit more appealing or gorgeous to touch. The buttons are of plastic as well. Probably is because any Mini has these buttons, and you don't want to have too much production costs on a limited edition 3,000 piece only Mini. So I can understand that, and I think everybody does. Thing I don't really like is the many details here. It's a bit heavy, and you have two cup holders that look a bit tiny. You can actually put your phone here. You have a USB-C charging port here, USB, and a 12-volt socket. A lot of buttons are here, making it able to navigate through the system. This right now is my first impression of the system, so I'm not really used to it, of course. It's not my own car, so I don't know everything about the infotainment system, but it does look good though. Since this is currently about the design, I like it. I think it looks kind of funny, and this is a fun car. So it's not taking itself too serious. The design is not taking itself too serious. Now in the back of your front seats, you have this metal bar here that is actually giving a lot of rigidity to the car and preventing your luggage to slide into the front cabin. Really performance-orientated detail. I personally do like that. Is a two-seater Mini now practical? That's debatable though. But personally for me, that's actually kind of cool. I'd say enough about the design and interior and exterior details. Let's actually go ahead and drive this thing. Starting the engine. Really nice sound from the inside. Is artificial though. Outside doesn't sound as loud as in the inside. So we have sound through the speakers. Kind of a common thing in modern sports cars, but I think that's okay. Since everybody's doing it and it's unstoppable. If you don't do it, others do it, and then other people think other cars sound better from the inside, so you just have to do it. Only comes with an 8-speed automatic gearbox. That's kind of bad though, because I personally of course prefer to drive in manual. Since we have 300 horsepower, 450 Newton meters, finding a gearbox that can take 450 Newton meters isn't the easiest thing probably. So I think that BMW probably would have had a gearbox that is capable of 450 Newton meters, but once again, production costs, people. We have to think about that. Cars like this only exist because we can keep production costs low, or they can keep production costs low. I don't do anything about that. That's actually a good thing. We can have these cars, and we have to accept that we can have everything in these cars that we want. So we can't have a manual gearbox in this thing. Unfortunate for a lot of people, including myself, but probably okay for most of the people. Really is a loud car. I really have the feeling that the speakers do a lot of the noise. This is the first time I'm driving this car now and reaching this location. I've been driving behind this car. It is loud and you can clearly hear it, but it's not as loud as in the interior. And I'm just cruising along at 40 kilometers an hour right now. We're not going really fast currently, so I can imagine that it's getting really loud on the Autobahn, which we will hit today. We will go and test the car's VMAX performance. It's claiming 265 kilometers an hour. It's claiming 5.2 from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, which is around 61 miles per hour. Nice Camaro though. We will test that. We will also test 100 to 200 probably. I have my timing device that we used with the last review with me. Doing this test on the Autobahn though isn't as easy as it seems, because you need a straight line, you need not too much traffic, and people can get in your way, and you don't want to endanger other people. So we will have to think about if we can do that today. It's depending on the traffic conditions. Okay, without any downshifts, this car is already really fast. But this is a good entry to telling you how this car drives around town. Now, to be honest, it's not that uncomfortable. I expected this to be really hard. This road surface is good, so we can test that off-road, of course. Really, I'm happy about how this car feels. Now, you can turn your start and stop off. I'm gonna do that because I'm not a fan of that. Small engines with big turbos, start and stop automatics. Now we can turn traction control off. I can see that here, there's a switch. We can turn that off, and it's, yeah, it tells me that GP mode now is activated. So we got GP mode now. Traction control is probably not entirely off. Manufacturers tend to not let you turn that entirely off. Yeah, it is really snappy. Probably has to do something with the weight transfer, that if you have your foot down and the car shifts by itself and you're not aware of that, and you don't have both of your hands to the steering wheel like I did right now, the car is gonna snap around. However, it's really responsive, like you expect from a Mini. It reacts so fast, the throttle is so fast, you don't even get to shift at the right time. You really have to get used to it. Let's test the suspension at this roundabout a bit. There's a pothole. Yep, it's really snappy. I feel like you really should shift manually with your pedals. It doesn't feel like it knows what to do all the time when you're not in GP mode. This problem might not occur if you go into GP mode. Maybe the car is responding better to sudden accelerations and sudden direction changes. Now I got GP mode activated right now. And I really do like the infotainment system of the car. Like I said, it's funky, it doesn't take itself too serious, and that's what I really like about Minis. That's why I like Minis. Used to hate Minis though, because I always thought that Mini isn't really a car for people like me, but that changed since you have these John Cooper Works now, and this GP now really is telling me this isn't an everyday car. And just like that, we hit insane speeds in a matter of seconds. We can only fully test the capabilities of this on the Autobahn and on the hills. So we'll skip to the part now where we'll actually see and hit some roads that more likely suit this vehicle. That's wow, okay. It doesn't like the surface of this road. The tires are really sticky, but they don't like rough conditions. Wow. Whoa, that's not the smoothest road in Germany. See if this car can handle that. It's, wow. Whoa, suspension really hates me now. Wow, this road here is really amazing to test vehicles, actually. My first impression of this car going wild in a very narrow straight with tight corners. It's amazing. It's just an amazing vehicle. Problem I see is the gearbox reacts a little bit slow. So you're shifting because you expect it to have a dual clutch. And dual clutches tend to react really fast. And then you hit rev limit and you want to shift in that exact moment, and you actually shift it too late because the gearbox is reacting later than you expect it to react. It's really easy to drive. I don't have any issue with this vehicle so far, except for that late gearbox, and I don't know. It's just amazing. And I'm actually really impressed about the grip. There's no doubt that these tires are magnificent. Genuinely impressed with the car, really. Something I always wanted to drive is a John Cooper Works. That I'm actually driving the GP version, the most powerful Mini ever. It's something I never expected, but this thing rips, and there's no doubt about it that this is like a real enthusiast car. If you love Minis, you're gonna fall in love with this thing here. The dashboard with this little screen, like I told you about, that it's really a reduced dashboard with reduced infotainment, not too many screens going around. For example, what I mean with reduced, you see the current EQS that was just released has a whole screen as a dashboard. Really cool thing. Wouldn't fit in this car at all, something like that, because this is all about the driver's experience, and I really appreciate that the gauge is small and not too detailed, that you just get the information that you need. But you could argue that this circular dashboard with all the buttons and everything might seem unfitting to a sports car, but overall it's still a Mini, and I think it's more important to keep the base car a true iconic Mini design piece, rather than ripping everything out. That wouldn't be anything that a lot of people want. Now, since the gearbox isn't the best thing for me because I don't know the car yet, to time the shifting, I'm gonna go with automatic now and see if that's still just as enjoyable, which I really expect it will be. And the brakes are really good. Yeah, they do actually do what you say they should do. Genuinely impressed with the car. Can't say anything else about it. I think it's almost too good. You have so much grip, and nothing in the world makes you think you're not capable of driving this. I expect some people to believe they can do it and then maybe end up crashing, you know. Now that we've been in the hills, and I can tell you it's really fun there, and corners and everything, but in Germany a lot of people would be interested, how is this car in a straight line? Because the Autobahn is famous for top speed. This thing can do 265 kilometers an hour, and we'll also test 0 to 60 and 100 to 200.
A few moments later.
just for the feeling, let me just go quick and tell you how that is. 300 is enough in a Mini. Kind of bouncy. Suspension is not made for the Autobahn. Oh, and if you don't have a straight steering wheel when you hit the throttle, then the whole vehicle is snapping into the direction that you have your steering wheel in. I mean, that's a good thing on track and everything, but if you're not that conscious and you have your steering wheel slightly to the right or to the left, you're going to end up having a very snappy reaction, which is bad if you don't expect that. But I think we can all agree that this is quick enough for a Mini. Definitely. It's not always about horsepower though. We don't always need horsepower. It's also about torque. If it can put down the power, you need the good tires for that, the suspension, all that is very important. People always ask me, what kind of horsepower does your car make? It's really not that important if you're not into going fast in a straight line, because I'm not that interested in that. More of a guy that likes to go fast in corners. I really enjoyed my time on the Nürburgring. I'm gonna go there again. Stuff like that. This car here is meant for stuff like that. And it's so forgiving. It just allows me to do that. I don't have anything to say about the vehicle that sounds bad. Like I said, only thing is maybe the gearbox, and maybe it's too hard for somebody. But if it's too hard for somebody, I don't know, why would you buy a GP? You know, you get what I'm saying? Wouldn't make any sense. For me, it wouldn't. So that's it for this video, guys. What are my final thoughts on the most powerful Mini ever to be produced? Since it's one of just 3,000 pieces, it's probably one of the most iconic things Mini has ever brought to the roads, especially for modern standards. We're not talking about historical cars here. 300 horsepower is way more than enough for a Mini, so some people might consider this car to be frightening. I would say you just have to get used to how it behaves in corners when you put your foot on the gas, and you know it's gonna be snappy, and you'll have to get used to the gearbox, and operating manually on the gearbox is also taking some time to get used to. For a Mini, I'd say this is the most brutal thing you could ever drive, and this might have a shooting up in value factor for the future. I really enjoyed my time with this car. I hope you'll enjoy your time when you get to drive one, maybe. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. As always, leave a like, really helps the channel out, and subscribe to the channel if you're new, of course. And I will see you in the next repair video or review. So until next time, guys, bye.